RJ, that was brutal.
Sure was. Yeah, that. I mean, what is there to say about that game? 6-1 loss in Philadelphia to the Flyers. Uh, it's a short franchise history so far. Pretty easily the worst game in that franchise history. I think you'd agree, right, Dylan?
Yeah, I mean it has to be. That's so much for my theory that all 82 games are going to be one goal games, right?
Yeah, I think we're gonna see some, I guess, that are not as close as the ones we've seen so far. Um, yeah, and this one just pretty much went off the rails. I mean, just starting out. I mean, it's tough because you want to strike a balance as far as a post game and the analysis. Where if you just want to talk about tonight, just these 60 minutes that happened, you really can't be too negative. Uh, the defense was not there. The offense was not looking good. Goaltending was hung out to dry a little bit, but just their players got injured. I mean, they were roughed up. It just there was nothing good about the 60 minutes that just happened. Nothing at all. So we could be very negative in that respect if we want to be. But looking at the bigger picture, you're on a long road trip. You're just starting out with the first few games in your franchise's history. It's not an easy spot to be in, and you're on the first half of back-to-backs, both on the road.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely some, I don't know if you want to call them excuses, but there are definitely some reasons, that might be behind a loss like this.
Yeah, I mean, some of it is just more the same, lack of systems. They get beat in the transition game way too easily. Power plays got issues. Lineup is still very much in flux. We have new players in the lineup. We're moving guys around the lineup. All of that came into play here tonight. But I mean, at the end of the day, it just felt like once that snowball got started, it just didn't stop. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we'll start with the obvious. I was kind of curious that they started Grubauer in this game anyway, just because he had played the last three. Do you agree with Hackstall's decision to leave him in as long as he did? I know they have the game tomorrow night, so that complicates things, but I was kind of
Well,
thinking
yeah.
after that second goal, I would have probably pulled him just because it.
If anything, is a message to send to the team that we're not going to let this get off the rails. And I think in just about any other scenario, that's probably what he would have done. But with the back-to-backs coming up, ideally, if possible at all, you'd like to just give Drieger the start tomorrow and not have him have to play tonight. So I understand being hesitant to do that. And I think Haxel was kind of thinking what we all were is just like, all right, let's just hope this doesn't go off the rails. Because I'm sure he just didn't want to put Drieger in, but at a certain point he had no choice left. And at a certain point, you also just don't want to subject Grubauer to how the defense was playing in front of him. You need to change something.
Yeah, and his rebound control seemed a little off tonight, Grubauer, especially on that second one. I mean, he kicks it right back out to Konechny. Just like I don't know what
Yeah,
you're
it's
doing
not
there.
entirely his. You'd like to see Larson take Konechny out there, but still, I mean, it's on both of them really.
Yeah, it's hard. Rebounds are hard because then it's all the play is happening essentially behind Larson, so it's hard for him to know what's happening. That's the stuff we've been talking about. We want the Kraken to do more, right? Put the opposing team in these situations.
Yep.
In that first period, there was that huge save by Carter Hart that kind of kicked things off for the Flyers. Really took all the momentum away from the Kraken, put it solidly in the Philadelphia side of the ice. They come down, they score their first goal. But with both good chances they had in the first period, both for Donato and Eberle, it was driving towards the net, getting stuff going, and then on the Susi goal, I mean, where was that? He was shoveling the garbage that kind of kicked out of that scrum in front of the net. It further proves that's what they should be doing. They were trying in the first period. Bounces didn't go their way, and then of course everything kind of fell apart from there on out. But I mean, they got to get that started on the power play. I mean, the power play is like it was pretty inexcusable tonight. Like you have like what 3 shots on 4 power play opportunities. Like
Yeah, they had nothing going, and a lot of times it kind of matched just where the momentum of the game was at. But yeah, that's a chance to turn things around, and they definitely didn't kind of use it to take advantage.
Yeah, so that's something again, that's very much what Philadelphia was doing. I'll go ahead, I don't want to make it too negative everything tonight, but the other big thing that concerned me was um how predictable the Kraken were, especially when it came to like their passing game. Like, and you could tell the Flyers knew what the Kraken were going to do before they did it, and they were just right in the passing lane, either intercepting it or at least putting a stop to the pass. I knew it was coming. Like, you could just tell, like, oh, okay, this guy's going to try this like cross ice pass in the offensive zone to the other point. Like, again, they make a lot of very safe passes, and that makes them very predictable.
It's true, and I saw a few of those plays, especially the turnovers coming ahead of time, and especially the one, the Susi goal. It was off a bad bounce off of it, or sorry, not the Susi goal, but the one where it bounced off his skate into the Kraken net, where I just saw that goal coming a mile away because it was that turnover on the pass out of the zone where he just stared it down the whole way, and another attempt to get it out of the zone where you knew exactly what they were going to do, and the Flyers knew too.
Yeah, and so that's something that they need to address. Try to just change things up a little bit. It's funny because early in the game I was like, "Hey, this is the best I think we've played in the neutral zone all year." The first half of that first period, they looked a lot better as far as breaking out of their own zone, struggling as far as once they get into the zone, setting things up. A lot of turnovers happen right away entering the zone. Just the puck carrier kind of goes in, gets boxed in by the defense, and there's just no play. So I'd like to see them maybe stop trying to enter the zone exclusively along the boards.
Yeah.
Because that's what it does. I mean, you have only one direction you can go with the puck now, and guess what? The defender knows that too. So there was one time, I think it might have been on a power play. Hayden Fleury had the puck. He kind of came up and all the way from behind the net. He was going to lead the rush, and he gets all the way to the Flyers blue line, and then he passes it over to the side for the actual zone entry. He had space to go in, and it would have freed up those other guys to maybe go for the net. He could have taken a quick shot, see if you get a rebound, something like that. But again, it was just, nope, we got to enter from the boards. And I don't know that that's going to be, a good long-term strategy. It certainly wasn't tonight.
No, it's not. And I mean, that gives a good segue, kind of turning to chat. First message here from Dimitri. It really is just a lack of systems. The defense and the power play were AHL level, in my honest opinion. Thanks for hosting these post games. Thanks for joining us, Dimitri. And yeah, just I think lack of systems so far. They kind of only have one or two things that they can do. And as you mentioned, it can get predictable.
Yeah. And so I think obviously they have the game tomorrow night against New Jersey, but then they're going to have 5 days off before the home opener on Saturday. I think that's going to be big, is to recoup. Let's watch some tape. Let's try some new stuff in the morning skates and practices. Kind of let's look fresh for Vancouver on Saturday, so we're not just playing the same game over and over and over.
Yep, I think that'll be big for them, just taking advantage of that time off. Still have a chance to go to 500 points percentage on the road. I think if the Kraken can do that, they can look at this road trip positively. Yeah, we talked about in the last post game that, would you take, a split basically in these back-to-backs? And we said, yeah, we'd feel generally good about that. And certainly the way that it's gone with this game, if the Kraken are able to respond tomorrow and get a win, as tough a situation as they're in, I think you've got to feel good about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think even if they are to, take an overtime loss tomorrow, even if they're to lose, but it's a close game, just, kind of show that fight, that willingness to battle back. I'd be okay with, a close loss tomorrow just because it's the last game, five game road trip, 5 games in 7 days, right? At that point. So, I'd be okay with that result. Obviously you want as many points as possible, but I do think this was a very grueling start for an expansion team that didn't have a lot of time to begin with.
Yep, agreed. Let's see. Drieger wasn't overworked. I think he'll be fine to start tomorrow. Yeah, I agree. I mean, ultimately, you don't want to get him into the game if you don't have to. But yeah, he'll be okay. I mean, he's had enough time just sitting on the bench. He'll be okay for tomorrow. Let's not forget, even Patrick Waugh once gave up 9 in one night. Every goalie / team is going to have a bad night. That's true. Yeah, I mean, you have off nights. It's something that happens. And you try and move on to the next one.
Yeah,
Um,
let's hope the after effects of this game are not as serious as that Wall game.
yeah, let's hope no one, just as Grubauer's played his last game in Seattle, he's done. I don't think we'll see that. Um, yeah, a big loss is the same as a small loss. Good learning experience for the team. Yeah, that's true. Same in the standings either way. If they, count same as that close Vegas game. Just 0 points, moving on. We need more offense to help the defense. Yeah, the one goal the Kraken did score came from Carson Soucy, which is actually the first goal that a Kraken defenseman has ever scored. So that's a nice little milestone. It didn't come in the best game, but good to get that one out of the way.
Yeah, and I guess how much do you think maybe their struggles on offense have been because Dunn has been out? Just having his presence, he was really kind of the glue as far as keeping prolonged pressures in the offensive zone going.
That's good you pointed that out, because something has certainly seemed like it's missing since he's left. I think he's been a big catalyst for a lot of the offense that the Kraken have been able to develop. And, we've noticed in these two games, they got one goal and then one goal. I mean, it's just kind of dried up, right? So yeah, Vince Dunn, even though, he's not necessarily scoring goals, he's very important for what the Kraken do offensively. So that is a big loss.
Yeah, just that creativity he brings, the offensive instincts. I just think a lot of that is what's being missed right now.
Yeah. Hey everyone, not gonna lie, I had the game recording, but saw 5-1 and decided I didn't need that kind of negativity on a Monday. Yeah, I mean, you didn't miss a whole lot by skipping that. I mean, probably better for all involved just to come to the final, and it didn't get any better. Even when they stopped giving up goals, they started getting injured, getting beat up. So, good idea, Sergeant Pickles.
Yeah.
Interesting. Evolving Hockey had the expected goals like 2.6 Seattle, 2.9 Philly, which was surprising.
I mean,
I'm surprised Philly didn't have more than that, just given the high quality chances that they had.
I am surprised by that too.
Yeah.
I would have thought that you'd practically be at that number at the end of the first there. Just some of those prolonged instances where they were just going and the Kraken had no way of stopping it. Like they were just completely helpless.
Yeah, I mean the 2.6 figure is like you can see, especially with just score effects late in the game. But 2.9, that one doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
No real positives tonight. Dylan, give me a positive. Give me something positive.
Drieger looked good. I mean, I
did.
know
Drieger
the game was kind of out of reach at that point. Neither side was necessarily going full throttle, but he came in, he made saves. He looked better than he did in the preseason. He gets some warm up before starting the game, presumably tomorrow night. So I think that's a positive. And, on the Soucy goal, he activated from the point, came down and made that play. I think that's a positive too. I think, anything that we can be seeing as far as the Kraken trying to make offense like that is something worth noting and appreciating. Yep.
And you know what? I got one more positive, at least, in my opinion. And this is kind of before the game went off the rails. Like that Carter Hart save, and then the subsequent Flyers goal, that's kind of where it went off the rails. But before that, one thing I was really looking at is Alex Wenberg got a chance on the first line. He was playing with Jordan Eberle and Jaden Schwartz. And up until that point where it went off the rails, I liked what I saw. One big difference I noticed from Wenberg is he's playing a lot higher up in the zone than what Jared McCann would do on that line. And I think it helped create some chances off of, failed clears from the Flyers. And I liked that he's looking to pass across the ice more than McCann would. McCann's kind of a shoot first guy. Wenberg's looking to be a bit more of a playmaker, and they set up some really dangerous chances off of cross ice passes that he made. It's like a 3-shift sample size before everything went bad, but in that limited time, I liked what I saw, and it gives me some hope for the future that maybe he could fit in on that line.
Yeah, one of the things that's interesting about it is I felt like his presence, and yes, he does like to play higher up in the zone, and I felt like that opened things up. Eberle came down and played, up against the net a lot, net front. It was kind of interesting. Not used to seeing Jordan Eberle there, but I kind of liked it.
Yeah, I do too. And man, he was so close to having a goal,
My gosh.
from that. So
Yeah.
you got to think that's going in more often than not. Um, let's see, is there something to be said for road trip burnout? I mean, in general, I suppose, and yes, there's some element of that. You'd probably like to not see it this early in the season, but yeah, 5 game road trip in the NHL is just it's kind of a brutal thing just by its nature.
Yeah, and again, we're going to be talking about 5 games in 7 days or whatever, so
Yeah.
it's exceptionally grueling. They do happen, these East Coast swings for the West Coast teams. That is just part of life. I will say though, the fact that they had the kind of shortened training camp to get to know everybody, all the newness, I'm sure, added to making this early in the season more difficult than it would traditionally be. And we can't forget the like kind of awkward COVID situation, last Monday, Tuesday, where, you know, I think even the people on the team flying into Vegas thought they were going to be without 4 players that ultimately they had in the lineup. That I think just kind of kickstarted things awkwardly. You had people arriving on multiple flights. Nothing was quite cohesive. You're not able to kind of get into that mindset of, okay, we're going off on the road trip together. This is how it's all going down. It was more like, oh, people are trickling in. Oh, this guy's cleared. Okay, now this guy's cleared. Like, awesome, right? You have guys giving pregame, earlier in the day interviews that don't even get dressed that night, right? That I think contributed to just the overall weirdness of this. And then it seems like, every game somebody's gotten injured and had to be removed from the lineup. We had Johansson get hurt, and then Dunn, and then, just the general shuffling around. Generally on road trips, you don't have kind of a new lineup every night. But so far for the Kraken, it's just unfortunately been that way.
Yeah, it has, and you're right. That can contribute. Uh, need our centers to win a damn face-off. So you may have noticed I was looking down at my phone a little bit because I was looking at the NHL face-off percentage stats because I noticed going into the game the Kraken were 28th in the NHL in face-off percentage. They've risen to 27th, but same general point stands. Yeah, they haven't been all that good in the face-off circle. It's a 44.2 face-off percentage, so it's not terrible. The top teams in the NHL is Toronto with 62.9. Dylan, what are you seeing in the face-off circle?
Well, yeah, and it's important to note both of those are going to regress towards 50% as the sample size gets larger and larger. Um,
Yes.
Morgan Geekie is the only consistent face-off guy in my opinion. It's hard to look at this game, both the beginning of the game, just because the Flyers are exceptionally good on face-offs. Just their center depth and the way those guys play, they're just all really good at face-offs. Expect them to be probably top 10, maybe top 5 at the end of the year in face-offs. So a little hard to judge based on this game, especially once everything went off the rails. But yeah, there just needs to be more consistency. McCann has struggled all year. We've known that. He looked good in that Vegas game, but he hasn't looked good since in the faceoff circle. I've seen Wenberg be better than he's been in the faceoff circle. I got to think at some point it'll click. Maybe settling in on this first line, things will change for him. He'll get more offensive zone draws. Maybe, that can help jumpstart him. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's just, one thing I noticed it in the Columbus game and tonight, the Kraken do win faceoffs as far as getting first, swipe at the puck, and they've swiped it right into the linesman's skates a couple times. I have noticed that, and then the other team is able to get it from there. So it's going to count as a win for the other team, but that was actually a win for the Kraken. It was just unfortunate. So maybe they need to try swiping towards the other side, but that's just the breaks.
Yep. Good observation there. Eberle needs a goal. Yeah, I mean, he's been snake bitten. We saw tonight on that big save. It's tough. Big rig fight was a positive. Yeah, Alexiak with the first real solid fight win in Kraken history. I guess you can give that a positive
Yeah,
from the game. I
Steph.
mean, how do you take on a guy like his the opponent? What was it? Sealer, whoever that guy he fought, 6'2", and he just made him look tiny. That's the nature of. I mean, credit to him being willing to fight Alexiak. That's pretty brave.
Yeah, and it was clearly awkward for Alexiak, just trying to manage, that. But yeah, credit to Alexiak also for stepping up and standing up for Larson, his deep pairing partner, who was cross-checked face first into the board. So
Yep. No, that's important to see, and especially given this, the score what it was, you want guys to stand up for their teammates.
how about Bastion trying to do that a couple times tonight?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that second fight, he just took an absolute beating. I don't think he landed a single punch. Looked like he took like 20 from Nate Thompson. I tweeted this, but like credit to him for just like surviving that, staying on his feet as long as he did. I don't think you or anyone in the chat could have stayed on their feet for 5 seconds in a fight like that. Yeah, I mean, just credit to him for getting through it.
Yeah, and I haven't quite checked, but I'm sure he finished with a lot of penalty minutes tonight.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we haven't checked the Kraken's penalty minutes leader, but you'd think he'd be the favorite at this point.
Yeah, just this game alone, I'm sure. It'll be, hopefully he's in the lineup tomorrow to take on his former team. We still haven't seen that yet.
I know he'd be the first Kraken. Yep. So as soon as he is, I will like tweet that out because I want everyone to know. Will Dunn be good to go tomorrow? I think they really rely on him to generate chances. Tactics defer to him all the time. Yes, we talked about how important he is. I don't know if he'll be good to go tomorrow. He was back skating today, so he's good enough to be out on the ice. Good luck figuring that out in the NHL until game start time. As soon as we know something, we'll tell you. But yeah, we're not going to know probably until tomorrow game time likely.
I would be a little surprised just because you have such a long break coming up.
That's true. I mean, you'd think there's no real reason to rush him back given the break coming up. Yeah, I probably wouldn't. Even as important as he's been, just having him healthy long term is going to mean a whole lot more. Yeah, sorry if this has been asked before, but any updates on Blackwell, Yarncroke, Gord, or Dunn? No, I mean Dunn, except that he's still day to day and was out on the ice today, which was I guess new development is that he was on the ice. Blackwell, nothing. We've got nothing since the start of training camp. Yarncroke still in COVID protocol, which is all we're going to hear until he's out of COVID protocol. Gord, no updates, but I assume he's probably trending the way that he has been. He's along with the team on the road trip, so hopefully we'll see him back sooner rather than later.
I got to think news on all of their fronts will come out again over this week once they get back to Seattle and things settle down for a couple days. I got to think.
And you start having practices and things, and you see who's on the ice, who's not for that. Yeah. I think that's when we'll start getting news out, and we'll try and get that as soon as we can, and you'll see that on Twitter. We'll get that out to you. Let's see. Regarding evolving hockey and expected goals being close, I'm not a massive fan of their methodology after digging into it. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's one thing to remember is with expected goals, you have different models, different sites. How about them fisticuffs? Yep, definitely most fights of any Kraken game so far.
And it could have been a lot worse. I think you and I have both seen blowout games where things just really go nuts and guys, injuries are a potential concern. Mm-hmm. Things get really chippy. Credit to both teams in this game for not, falling into that. Yep. They both tried tried to finish the game pretty strong.
Yep. Yeah, you like to see that, especially in the regular season. You got a whole bunch of games to go. Let's see. Here's a positive. It's over. Yeah. Another timetable question. Not just this game so far, but I have had the thought that for every ridiculous save Gruby makes, he misses an easy one. So one thing I was looking at this morning, and I'm sure this trend has just gotten more pronounced, is if you look at just his numbers, if you hadn't looked at Grubauer on the ice at all this season, and you just look at the raw numbers, and I'm talking, everything from as basic as save percentage, goals against average, to goals saved above expected, goals saved above average, they look not all that great for Grubauer so far this season. His save percentage, I know, is under 900 coming into this game. A 750 this game isn't going to help with that. Goal saved above expected, I think coming into this game was negative 0.7 or something like that. I imagine that hasn't been helped after this game. What are your thoughts on Grubauer? I mean, we've both been talking about how great he's been playing. How do we square that circle as far as what the numbers say?
Yeah, there's a couple that are rough. Looking like at tonight specifically, the first goal, that Claude Giroux goal, that's a goal that's going to score on anybody. He just rocketed that one-timer, perfect spot, impossible to stop, right? The second goal, the first Travis Konechny goal, he, it's off the rebound, off his pad. It looks like he might kick it out. But again, you're also maybe trying to kick it out to the side, and it was just unfortunate that it goes, again, right to Konechny. You're now down, out of position. Again, near impossible to stop. No goalie's really going to make that save. Third goal, it's off Soucy's skate. Like, you can't account for that. You can't anticipate that. Again, it just kind of goes in. So just those first three first period goals, it's a little hard to say like, oh, he just missed on him. I will say the last goal, the fifth goal, you got to be down full butterfly for that. The fact that he was kind of trying to cheat and ultimately it squeaked through that 5-hole there, that's on him. But, at the game, at that point in the game, I think, it was over for him anyway. So.
Yep. And one thing I should mention, though, we were talking about some more advanced stats, and we realized that, not everyone watching this might, be familiar with, expected goals, goals saved above expected, all that. So really quickly, we'll talk about expected goals because that's something that was talked about earlier. Expected goals is, very simply, is an advanced stat basically saying how likely a certain shot is to result in a goal. And that can take into account kind of where the shot's coming from, what type of shot it is, player movement leading up to the shot. These computer models get very complicated as far as what you can include in that. But basically, it's a number between 0 and 1, where, a 0 is where you would expect a shot of that type to never score, and 1 would be you'd expect it to score every time. And 0.5 would be you'd expect a shot like that to score half the time, and so on and so forth. So when we talk about expected goals, that's what we're talking about. And then those numbers for the Kraken and Flyers, it kind of adds up every shot, how many goals you would expect a team to score throughout a game. Goals saved above expected for a goalie, it's how many goals that they've saved above the expected goals that they've faced. So very briefly, that's kind of what we're talking about. I figured we should explain that. But I think there's a lot more. It can get a lot more complicated, but that's very kind of briefly what we were talking about. Let's see what's next. Oh, if put to task finding Kraken's 3 stars, I'm going with Soucy, Fleury, Alexiak. All right, Dylan, who do you have as the 3 stars for this game from the Kraken?
Yes,
tough assignment.
I know. Soucy for sure. Oh boy. Yeah, Alexiak, I'll give him that. The fight and everything I think was good. I might go Eberle just because I feel like this is the game he's, been most noticeable, and I like the subtle changes he made. Again, he didn't necessarily do anything tonight, but is kind of like, off puck play in the offensive zone. I like that change, and I hope he continues that because I think that will result in stuff, moving forward. But tough night for 3 stars.
Yeah, it is. And I Alexiak is one that I thought of, although I checked pretty late in the game and he had the least ice time among all Kraken defensemen. Which, hey, I mean, maybe, that could speak positively sort of in this game. I mean, the fight had something to do with it, I'm sure.
Yeah, and, another positive for tonight, we haven't once mentioned Jeremy Lauzon's name, much less in a negative light. So that's probably the biggest takeaway we can have from tonight is that he was he was at least okay.
Yeah, there was one play I noticed where he was indecisive about where he was supposed to go, and I was thinking about it. I'm like, no, because it didn't end up in the Kraken's net. So I'm like, all right, I'll let him have that. But other than that, he looked fine to me. So that's an improvement. Might even name Lauzon one of the stars, and then like Drieger or something. So
yeah, really, the only time a defenseman I felt like really contributed to a goal, obviously besides the one off Soucy's skate, which not really his fault, was Jamie Alexiak got caught looking on one of them. It might have been goal 4, and he just kind of drifted over and just it left that whole center of the ice. That was the Ryan Ellis goal. Was that the 3rd goal? Maybe that was, or the 4th goal? Yeah. Fourth. Yeah, and Ryan Ellis saw that, and of course he's a really good player. He stepped up and was in that spot. Wenberg tried to get back there, but that was the only time I noticed a defenseman kind of leaving position, and it ended up costing them.
Yep. And as pointed out, Lauzon was the only even player for the Kraken on plus minus. So Yep, that's plus minus can be a kind of dubious stat, but in a game like this, that definitely speaks positively to him.
Yeah.
Um, at least isn't a 13-game road trip like the Isles have. Yes, no, that is absolutely brutal for the Islanders to start the season. Let's be glad that Climate Pledge Arena is very close to being done, and will be done by Saturday. Let's see, McCann is better on the wing. I mean, we haven't seen him there yet this season, but after this game, I mean, might want to try it. I think they'll probably try it once Gord comes back. Certainly, if they're taking him off the top line already as the center, I would expect them to try that when Gord comes back.
Yeah, and I think it's something worth trying right now.
Yep. Let's see. Bastion filled the stat sheet thanks to that. Do you think the week back home will mean Hack finalizes the D pairs? Kind of feels like he's just mixing and matching to see what happens. Yeah, I mean, I would like to see some more continuity there, so just at least something working together. What do you think, Dylan?
Yeah, it seems like it's kind of finalizing right now, but again, Dunn is out, and so that's going to throw another wrench into things. Like when Dunn comes back, who's going to be out? Is it going to be Susie or is it going to be Fleury? Because those are the two guys we've seen. When Vince Dunn, the 2 games Vince Dunn played, those were the 2 guys that alternated essentially. So I think if Dunn is healthy over the week, we should see some solid finalize something. I would hope. Forwards though, I don't know.
Yeah, no clue. Yeah, we'll see what the future brings with that. RJ, I see those sticks in the back. Yes. What level did you play at? You look like you'd be a nice top 6 forward on the Wheat Kings. Yeah, I got some sticks in the back. I never played beyond rec hockey growing up. I mean, I don't know, Dylan, was I one of the better players in rec hockey at least? I don't know. You saw some of my games.
Certainly roller. Yes.
Yeah, and roller. Let's say I played roller hockey growing up. I never played ice hockey until I was 18. So, yeah, still fairly new to ice hockey. Only been playing that for, I guess, 7 years. But yeah, I say a top 6 forward probably like profiles the type of game I play. Say that as well. I've talked about that though in a previous post game.
Yeah, if you want the quick scouting report on him, I'll give it to you.
Yeah,
right
okay,
here.
Right? Give it to him, Dylan.
He's really fast. He's capable of playing at his top speed, which is important. Decent shot, really good vision, good passer, all that stuff. Runs into problems when it gets to his size though. So upper division rec league stuff where things get kind of really chippy and physical, that's where he'll run into issues.
Yep, as I have found out playing in Division 3 of the Kraken Hockey League. All right. Does ABB get inserted in the lineup tomorrow? Who knows after that game? You think so?
Yeah, I think so, because I kind of felt like they maybe pulled him out of this, thinking, okay, this is a Flyers team that's a little more solid two-way, a little more physical, all that stuff. New Jersey is a smaller team. They're a faster team. I would assume Barry Boulet would be in for that game. It just
and you got to figure maybe there's someone that Hack still feels like taken out of the lineup after tonight's game. Just pick someone. So yeah, I could see that.
That being said, I thought Colin played pretty good.
Yeah, I thought so too. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of time. There were a few times I noticed him, puck battles down below the boards, those kind of things. We talked in training camp about Lind and Bastion maybe competing for the same roster spot. And he was doing some Bastion-like things.
Yeah. No, I thought he played pretty well, built off that positive preseason he had.
Yeah, agreed. Can we get a quick Devils preview? I'm hopeful that is a better matchup for us. You mentioned in a few words there, Dylan, but anything else to add about the Devils?
Yeah, I mean, they're just a team, as far as I'm concerned, of a lot of underwhelming high picks. Like, I don't know. At some point, you would assume they'll put it together a la Edmonton, but they haven't ever had, that like true McDavid level guy that's kind of come in and helped them out. Jack Hughes is probably their best player. I talked about it, I think, after the Nashville game. I think
you'll admit that now, huh?
Yeah, I think. Well, I'll admit he's his best player, but I was just gonna follow it up with I still think he's maybe a little overrated. I feel like we've anointed him a little before he's really proven it. But yes, I think overall this game should be more favorable to the Kraken. It's just who knows coming off a game like tonight.
Yeah. After that stick toss, though, how much more do you need to see, Dylan?
Oh God.
That was awesome.
Yeah, sure, it was. We'll see how bad he gets beaten into the ground next time they play each other.
Anyway, I love that. I mean, that's great for the fans and everything. But yeah, I'm sure that. See, like the Golden Knights were mad about the whole geeky thing. Like, what if that happens? Come on. I guess you
Yeah,
gotta do it
no.
once the game's over. They can't go kick one in on the next shift. So
Yeah,
that's the
that's
smart
where he
part.
did it, you know.
Yep. Um, let's see. Sounds a bit like a budget Jordan Eberle. Is that talking about me or?
Yeah, probably.
um.
Just disappears on the power play, you know.
Yep. That's a pretty small budget you've got there. Let's see. I do recall some decent back checking in the slots, stick lifts to prevent scoring chances from McCann over the past games. The Kraken need that more than what Wenberg offers offensively. What do you think, Dylan?
No, because I think Wenberg ultimately is, you know, the better two-way player anyway. I think as much as I've been saying I've liked McCann just shooting, because at some point it feels like the Kraken's biggest problem, especially on the power play, is, you know, you're never going to score if you don't shoot the puck. I do think Wenberg is probably the better player to have the additional ice time just because of his two-way play. We've seen that, you know, both in Columbus and Florida from him. I do feel like McCann is trying to kind of live up to being a top six guy now that he's out of Pittsburgh, where he was really buried in that lineup. And I do think he's played really well defensively, particularly like through the neutral zone, back checking into the zone. He'll back check really, you know, far back. I got to think that was something that was modeled to him from Sidney Crosby playing there. It, you know, kind of reminds me of that. Not quite as effective as Crosby, but, you know, can't totally blame him there. So yeah, I've seen positives from McCann. It's just one of those things where it feels like every night one aspect of his game looks good, but it comes at the expense of everything else. So I want to see him kind of wrap it all together. Whereas right now with Wenberg, it feels like he's just finally starting to kind of, you know, kick into gear for the season after missing some of that training camp time.
Yeah, that's good analysis. And I think you'll see also more chemistry with McCann on that second line. Like, I liked what I saw from Wenberg on the first line. I think McCann still has to kind of get used to his line mates on his new line. Appleton looked injured. Yeah, he did. He kind of got rubbed out along the boards. I watched the replay. I mean, you'd think maybe it's like a knee or an ankle, but I couldn't see anything specific where it got twisted or anything. It didn't look like anything got pulled weirdly. I don't know. His leg came up pretty high on the glass. Even I think his skate touched the glass. So that might be it. Maybe a groin. I don't know. But yeah, well, that'll be a situation to monitor for sure.
Yeah, and you never know with the game the next day. But I mean, that might solve the Barry Boulet thing. If you sit Appleton, you could put Lynn down there on that fourth line and Barry Boulet back up the lineup.
Yep. Bold prediction: PK scores an absolute bomb and over celebrates it as usual, but the Kraken still win. What do you think of that prediction?
That is definitely in the cards.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we know PK Subban. He does like to celebrate. But love the personality from him. Like, again, hockey needs more players like him.
Yeah, for sure.
Love the way the player pushed the ref out of the way for fighting. It looked like the ref was just trying to get out of there. I mean, like, and I don't blame him. You got Alexiak and, you know, and Sealer. I keep getting the name wrong, but anyway,
yeah,
like you got those two guys fighting. You try and break them up as much as you can, but it was clear they wanted to go, and I think he was just trying to get the heck out of there.
Yeah, it looked like he was just kind of wrapped up in all the arms and everything that was going on. You know, one other thing though is when you have Bastion on the ground, you know, kind of right before that, you had the ref there, and I know traditionally linesmen kind of break up stuff, right? The refs will whatever, but you had Bastion down, clearly being pinned, clearly, you know, being roughed up on the ice, and the ref is literally just standing there watching it just right over him. And I was just kind of like, you know, maybe you could do something about that, maybe, you know.
Yeah, that was what I didn't really like to see, but Yeah, it's tough in a game like that, with fights going on and whatnot. It is a difficult job. Um, let's see. Coming in late to the stream, wasn't sure when the game ended because Root was showing a classic re-air of Montana State football game instead of the Kraken. Not too happy about that. Huh.
Oh, yeah, out of Espen.
Yeah,
It was the
ESPN
root
Plus.
feed though.
Right, it was the Root feed, so I don't know. Huh. Maybe something on the TV. I don't know. Montana State. Maybe it was that first game of the season this year. Um, if New Jersey's coaches are smart, they figure out what Philly did and how to predict the Kraken's every move. How should the Kraken prepare for New Jersey or other teams knowing what the Kraken will do? We touched on this a little bit, and it's basically just having some more variety in their systems. I mean, they look like a team that's only had time to work on one or two ways to get the puck out of their zone, one or two ways to enter the opponent's zone, where it can get predictable fast, where they haven't had that practice time to learn that variety in their systems. So I think that's just going to come with more time to basically have more tricks in your toolbox. What do you think, Dylan?
Yeah, I mean, right now their offensive zone, system, I can tell it to you exactly what it is because we've seen it, over and over and over. It's if you are below, halfway down into the offensive zone and you're along the boards either side and you have it, you're just going to cycle it around the boards behind the net. That's just it. You're not going to look to throw it on net. You're not going to do anything with it. You're going to cycle it around there. And then the other winger most likely is going to leave being in front of the net and go down behind the net and try to stop it there in Gretzky's office. They do that every time. We saw the Flyers very prepared for that in this game. They were just turning the puck over right away, especially when, like I was saying, they only enter the zone along the boards to begin with. So it was just kind of like, oh, we'll just drive in and either, if we don't get very far, then we're going to try a cross ice to the other blue line because that's their other big thing is anytime you've got it, you just kind of pass it to the other blue line because there's space generally over there for that player. I don't get it. You saw the Flyers. They were very much like, hey, if you got it, throw it on net. Let's see what happens. And, worked a little bit better for them. But those are literally the only two things that the Kraken do when they're in the offensive zone. So it made it very easy for the Flyers to anticipate stuff. And I got to assume they're not going to change all of that overnight before New Jersey. So we'll see if New Jersey kind of keys in on that as well.
Yep. See if they watch their game film tonight. All right. Sabres fan here. Do you see the Kraken inserting Will Borgen into the lineup anytime soon? Always liked his potential as a prospect in Buffalo. Man, you are preaching to the choir. We would both like to see Will Borgen inserted into the lineup at some point, hopefully soon. If it was up to us, it would have happened already. But yeah, I want to see what he can bring to this blue line because, I said it after last game. I'll say it again. The blue line certainly isn't perfect as is. I think there's some room for a little change, for a little experimentation. Certainly after this game, I think wouldn't be a bad time to do it.
Yeah, I think he should be in there, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm gonna be that guy. What position or role should they trade for? All right, time to start talking about trades, possible additions. All right, what does this team need, Dylan?
I mean, it's kind of weird because, like, as far as a specific player, I don't know. It's a little unclear other than, just a straight sniper who's going to come in and score 40 goals for them, right? Like, that's obviously what they need, but really who doesn't need that? Because it's ultimately they just need consistency. They need consistency with their lineups. They need consistency in the systems. They just need to progress, essentially. Otherwise, I want a scorer. Maybe try to find a rental.
Scoring winger. That was what came to my mind. So I think you might have a need on the blue line somewhere, but you need things to be more solidified to figure out exactly where it is. You need Vince Dunn back. You need to see a few more games of that, and then maybe they do need a guy who can maybe fill in where if Borgen doesn't work out, fill in where Lausanne has been and be a little better. But yeah, it's hard to tell right now. More Borgen stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
really can't catch a break. Yeah, that's for sure. Borgen's a righty too, which is lacking on the decor. Yeah, exactly. That's another element too, where you have so many lefties playing on the right side as is. Yeah, even if just for that alone, I know it's not something that it seems like it's not something that Haxtell cares a whole lot about, given his willingness to deploy a bunch of lefties on the right side. But yeah, it'd be nice to see, and I would think it would simplify some things.
Yeah, and it's been a little, there have been moments in the offensive zone where guys are playing off their, offside, and it's a little awkward for them at the blue line. So,
Yep. Flyers big proponents of Dylan's school of just gonna send it. Did you see there was a comment I think after last game, I think it was right after you left, so there was a comment that Dylan's school of just gonna send it. I don't know if you caught it before you headed out, but
no, I didn't. But
makes an
yes,
appearance again.
yeah. I mean, there's a time and the place to take your to choose your shot, right? A breakaway, for example, you don't want to just kind of send it there, unless you're like me and you can't pick your spot to save your life anyway. In which case, go for it. But yeah, I mean, I just think at some point, just get it going, create some chaos. Every time they score, that's what they did. But it'll be like the only play all game that they've done that, and so that's a little frustrating. I just it seems to be working for everyone else. It seems to be working for us. We've been a little unlucky last game and this game, some missed opportunities doing that. But bottom line is that's where the chances are.
Yep. I think Gord finishes a lot of those Eberle and Schwartz half chances in front of the net. Yeah, agreed. I mean, it's certainly not going to be worse than they just can't seem to finish at the moment. But yeah, I think like given he just loves being out in front of the net, like watching him in training camp and all the drills that they did where he can go in and bang home rebounds and just be in the action. I know he's going to relish that. So I think that'll help out a lot.
And just his ability as a puck handler is going to open up some space for those other guys, because like going back to kind of what they've been doing, they're very quick to pass right now, which means the defense never gets sucked in, right? Yes, they're along the boards and they're either going to try to send it across the ice or send it behind the net, but they do it kind of right away. If they just like look up and there's no obvious play, they're not trying to, skate out a little. They're not trying to do anything that can help draw the defense in. We've talked several times about, other teams, right? Our defensemen kind of creep over, they get out of position, leave the front of the net open. You got to kind of do that as a forward. You got to, kind of bait the trap, so to speak. And that just comes from being good with the puck and being a little bit more patient for opportunities. Wenberg does that, but right now I kind of feel like he's the only guy doing it.
Yeah, I don't see much of that from McCann when he's in that spot. He's got a heck of a shot. He's eager to use it, but as far as baiting guys in, thinking that of that level, that I just don't see it. Kessel as a trade acquisition, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
he'd be a rental. I'm a big fan of his. I think there are reasons he's never stayed in one spot too long, but certainly as a rental, I think he's really good. I think he's one of the guys that's good at doing stuff like that. He can be patient in the offensive zone with it. I've seen him take over games single-handedly. I'm a big fan.
Yep. I would like, and he'd just be fun to have around, especially with as media working with it, like that would be great. Bergeron just to be epic on the face-off. Well, yeah, if you can ever get a Patrice Bergeron, that's a good acquisition. Got to go, gents. Got a 3-month-old and a 4:30 wake up. Oof. Well, thank you for staying on with us. Yeah. Get as much sleep as you can. And you know what? Looking at the time, I think probably like we maybe pull a Grubauer here, and just given the score of tonight's game, I think we've covered the disaster that was for that 60 minutes on the ice just about as thoroughly as we can. And I think we'll see you all tomorrow. But I mean, any closing thoughts, Dylan? I think it's probably time to wrap this one up.
Yeah, we're getting close to our hour cap anyway. I just think it's one of those things. Looking at the latest chat just come in, was it just an off night? I think there's some elements to they were a little unlucky at the beginning of the game, and that contributed to the snowball. But I do think some of the stuff like them being predictable in the offensive zone so much is a problem that will need to be addressed. But thankfully, they're going to have good 4 or 5 days to address it after tomorrow's game.
Yep, absolutely. So thank you everyone for joining us. Yeah, another 5 a.m. wake up
Brian,
call.
Yeah.
Yep. Wow. Okay. So Thanks everyone for joining us. Appreciate you staying with us, especially with those after a game like that and early wake up calls. We will see you all tomorrow night after the Kraken Devils game. It is also a 4 o'clock start time. So yeah, we'll see you after the game.
Yeah, should be fun.